Hello. So, I just wanted to kind of talk about how we view dating and why I think online dating is stigmatized. So, I am an avid Tinder user. I've been using Tinder for maybe 3 years now, or 2.5 years. And, Tinder is just kind of like, it's a cultural joke, really. I can just say, guys, like, it's fucking Tinder, and you would know what I mean. It connotes like superficiality or hopelessness or nonchalantness. People just don't take it seriously, really. But then you start to hear more of those stories, like, oh, well, I know someone that got married off of Tinder. And so we have like a lot of kind of narratives, but that marriage aspect or like meeting someone and on Tinder is like usually kind of surprising, maybe. It's like a flip to how we see Tinder. But Tinder isn't really the first online dating site. I think it gets more slack than the others because it's like more overtly kind of commodifying, because it's very much swipe based on style or looks, or even though I don't think Tinder is inherently superficial, I think it has more superficial aspects than some other dating sites like OkCupid, where you actually have to answer a lot of questions. I mean, I got an OkCupid profile recently, and I was answering so many questions. I answered like 300 questions, and it was just really fun. And then they kind of put this whole graph of your whole personality, and it's like, you're more progressive, or you're more kinky, or you're less conservative, or you're more indie, or whatever. They had like really useful categories, I think. But yeah, those other kinds of sites are taken more seriously, I think. And traditionally, they came before Tinder. Tinder's like very much the assembly line of dating. But still, these sites are still stigmatized to an extent. Like, you're like, oh, like, hush hush, they met online. And even though we hear stories and we know people, for some reason people don't want that for themselves. And maybe I'm projecting, but I really don't care because I use these sites. But I think there is kind of this, if I am projecting, I don't think it's like a me thing. I think it's like a cultural value that I am projecting. So then is that even projection? If it's in culture? Isn't projection just like an individual neurosis type thing? Anyway, I think that our culture doesn't like online dating. And I want to kind of muse why I think that is. So I think that online dating is frowned upon because it's not seen as an achievement in mate selection. Okay. So, we all prefer those stories, or would rather have those stories where we're in public and let's say there's like a cute guy or girl in line behind us, and whatever, we just start talking to them or something happens and we have chemistry and we get their number and we go on a date, like, I'm thinking of like my mom and her boyfriend like met in an elevator, and people really like to hear that story, or at least, not that there's like some elaborate story, but they like that sentiment, like, oh, they met in an elevator, like, that's so cute, like, did they get trapped in there or something, or like, what happened? But really, we just like, the reason why we prefer these offline stories is because we, yeah, see this kind of approach as an achievement, because I talked in my other video, I don't know if I'm going to post it, but when you have a crush on someone, or when you see someone as attractive in public, because you can crush on people like in your community, but then you can also like crush on like these strangers that you're not going to see again, like whether you're on the subway or at fucking Tesco. Yeah, so you can be attracted to those people in different ways, but you're still attracted to them. But when we're attracted to them, we kind of put them on this pedestal because they have qualities that we want, they have qualities that we respect. And if you are someone that doesn't have those qualities, or if you do have those qualities but you're not aware that you have them because you have low self-esteem, then it can be a disempowering experience. It can feel like, oh fuck, like there's someone attractive that I don't have the means to approach, whether it's like social or physical. It just can feel crappy. But to conceive of offline dating as achievement, it says something about the person who is approached, or who is even approaching. It says about the person who is approached that they are attractive enough, or they are interesting enough to be approached by a stranger. And then the stranger who is approaching, it says that they are confident enough, or maybe they are also attractive enough, or yeah, so there, there's that internal and external attraction. We can say that internal qualities that we value are like confidence, or like humor and intrigue, and the external would be more style, or just physical attractiveness. But we like these offline stories because what they say about the people in the stories, it says someone there has to be confident enough to do something, to make some kind of move, or someone there has to be attractive enough to do something, or make some kind of move, or be approached. But I don't know. This is just an observation I've had. I don't know if I agree with this, though. I don't know if this is how we should be viewing dating. I think it has to do with neoliberalism. Really, though, because in neoliberalism we value individualism, we value social competition, self-reliance, entrepreneurship. These are things that our culture values. And this dating narrative of meeting offline, it kind of adheres to those values. It says you are able to self-present yourself in a persuasive way to attract someone if you're the one being approached. And then the one that's approaching, well, you embody those values of entrepreneurship or self-reliance, self-governance. You're able to see something, essentially, and grab it and take it for yourself, make it yours. And there is kind of like a gendered aspect to this even, but I don't know. I'm really trying to, like, I don't agree with it, but I don't know what the alternative is, really. Because, like, how can we exist without commodifying the people around us when we're constantly around strangers? We don't really live in communities that much anymore. We have our friends, but let's say you have your friends at school and you hang out at the library, but everyone else around you is a stranger. There's probably like hundreds of people around you that are not your friends. And you get those really weird feelings at university sometimes, like maybe you've gotten them where, you know, all the classes have been let out, so there's all these people, maybe like 5,000 people like on campus, or maybe even more at one time, and you're just like, holy fuck, like I literally know like 0.03% of the people who attend this school. Just a weird feeling, and I think it's unique to our time, really, but that was kind of off topic. I think that, back to my original point, this is why online dating is stigmatized, because it doesn't adhere to those neoliberalist values of entrepreneurship or self-reliance or ownership, really, private property. People don't take it as seriously because you're not engaging in a social risk. And that's what like entrepreneurship is, right? It's making those risks. It's taking that chance that you're going to fail, that you're going to be rejected. And just the fact that you took that chance and then you got what you aimed to achieve, well, that's even better. The entrepreneur, you know, they take the chance and they get what they want. Whereas we don't really think of Tinder or OkCupid or eHarmony as a kind of risk, you know? And maybe there is some validity to that, because you can't really be rejected on those sites. Like, you don't know when you don't get a match on Tinder. I mean, maybe if you're not getting a lot of matches, you're kind of like, oh fuck, okay, I noticed this. But really, like, when you don't match with someone, you don't know. You only see like the positive. But then online dating also relates to another kind of value of neoliberalism. That is like charisma, sociability, like extroversion. And people see online dating as not a valid way, or a less valid way to interact with people. People don't see it as authentic because you're not being charismatic. But I think that's kind of bullshit, because maybe there is something to be said about that. But I think it's bullshit in some ways, because, like, you know, some people are just like fun to text. Like, I like to text. I think it's fun. I think you can have a lot of jokes and lols, and a lot of my relationships kind of are maintained through texting. But maybe there is something incoherent about starting a relationship through text. I don't know. All I know is that when I'm using Tinder, sometimes I just get these like pangs of guilt. Like, fuck, like, why can't you meet someone offline? Why can't you meet someone at Tesco? Or why can't you try and pursue your crush and risk rejection and all this stuff? And I don't know. I know why it's stigmatized. It's stigmatized because of neoliberalism. And I don't really know to what extent that is valid. These have just been some observations.